You know, it's not so much a specific trick. I think if you can, the thing that he conveyed to me, the biggest takeaway, and I was fortunate enough to see him and spend time with him and share it one-on-one and then read all of the stuff. Afterwards, and we all have our relationship to magic, but he was such a obsessive, monomaniacal card guy. I never saw anybody as single-mindedly passionate as he was. In the end, he made me love magic as much as he did. He made me think about it almost, you almost hate to say it, but it has a religious overtone to it. Because there's something that energizes the spirit from reading his stuff. And, you know, so to pick one, impossible. It's like saying, what's your favorite kid?
Right.
You know. You say,
What
well,
about a twick as lovely as a twee?
You know what's good about that? People say, are you kidding me? Marlo put that out. He put out that crap. And you know what? We would consider it if we compared it to some of his versions of Triumph or the Dunbury Delusion or the Devilish Miracle or the Unexpected Prediction or any of those tricks. We'd say that's sort of a lame-ass thing that every magic shop. That's sort of like the whoopee cushion of card tricks. And the reason that even came about was that, and this I guess could represent a Marlo story, not my favorite, but they used to put out these trick little cards, and I think probably the best one ever designed was the 3.5 of clubs that's still used today in all of its forms. And then they had the 14 of spades and the 15 of diamonds, and they had all of, you name it, they had all these gag cards. They were part of the FACO deck. And Marlo said, you know, Haynes asked him, can you give me one? He said, well, I can put out something. They had that gag card with the tree and all the hearts on it with no presentation or anything. And he said, oh, I can come up with something. And I'll give it to Ronald Haynes and let him put it out. And that was a twick that as lovely as a twee. You know, that Elmer Fudd, I think, was a guy that you should be, yeah, he could have performed it. Or today, Pee Wee Herman, somebody. Anyhow, he put it out, and then Haynes sold the hell out of it for $1. And, you know, that's Marlo. I'm trying to think of
What's the other packet trick?
I'll tell you, I did one of my favorite tricks besides the Unexpected Prediction, and Ed McGowan and a lot of people who've seen me do it say that I was the luckiest bastard ever, that because I always was able to do it with the least amount of extrapolation. It looked direct and miracle. The other one that I like is that the one that I had said from the New Tops. What the hell? I just forgot it already. That's not good. My favorite trick. I don't know the name of it. What the hell is that called? Come on. With a Pharaoh shuffle.
Oh, a mental topper.
Thank you. In fact, I had other versions of it in card fixes, but those are still not as good as the original one. I did it last Monday for Joel Ray. And when I got, you know, I do it a little differently insofar as that when, after you do a couple of the Pharaoh shuffles, Marlo would just deal the cards off the top of the deck. And you can either, you know, take the deck underneath and apparently pull out 4 random cards from different places, or do a series of false cuts, and each time you're cutting and taking out 4 random cards that they are. Well, you lay them out there, and that's what I did at the cuts, and then you say, I want you to, now you did everything. You shuffled and you divided them up, and you picked one of 4 cards, and these are the 4 cards here, and you're going to pick one. And I'm going to tell you, I'm very directly and convincingly and affirmatively saying, the one card you pick will be the card you mentally thought of. Now you're locked in.
Right.
And they slide it out, and you can do the usual thing. Now, you want to change your mind? I don't want you to later on say, oh, God, I wish I would have taken the one on the end. And I said, if you did that, it wouldn't matter. It'd still be your card. So Joe Ray takes that one. I said, slide it, turn it over. And he goes, oh, no way to go. He hit it. I didn't have to do it. My favorite story regarding that trick is that Harry Reiser, who got a reputation based on Pharaoh controlled miracles and knowing all the Marlo stuff, and nobody was doing Pharaohs. Reiser would go around and he's doing these things, and they were miracle time because nobody got to see Marlo do it. Harry Reiser, who's from Indiana area, he's in town, and they go to have a session, and it was a lively session. And this trick had not been published yet, and Marlo does mental topper and hits it. And Reiser just, did jaw droppers. It's like Lorraine's book. And Harry says, can you do that every time? Well, Marlo, being bold as he was and is, he said, yeah. And you can reset that to go again. You got to give it now, you got to recycle it, so you got to do 6 outs to get it back, or 8 or whatever it is. And he does it again. And he hits. I don't know how Marlo kept his composure. He just wanted to move it on, and now Reiser's saying, no way. He's going like, you can do that every time. And Marlo said, sure, I just did it. Really, you can do it every time? So Marlo does it a 3rd time and hits it. Now, Reiser's going nuts. He even pushes, he says, okay, you did it 3 times, and I believe it, but, why don't you seal the deal? All right, long story short, he did it 8 times. 8 times and hit it. Now Marlo wants to do the other blow off if you don't hit it.
Right.
Because that's not bad, especially after that. Of course, that then sort of gives you a tip off as to methodology if they want to reconstruct it. And he thought about it and he said, you know what? I'm not going to do it again. Because he kept hoping I can get to where I can do the other blow off. So until Reiser read it, he was boggled. Mental topper 8 times in a row.
Wow.
It had to be beautiful. I've never repeated it. Because I don't want to do those extra Pharaoh shuffles.
On that note, though, at the end of the write-up in the tops and now in Mint 1, there's a way to have an instant reset on that using the Pharaoh divider.
Yeah, he did mention it.
Which is a beautiful thing.
Also, just as a footnote to a footnote, the Pharaoh divider in Pharaoh Control Miracles mentions how you can segue to double trouble.
Oh, I'll have to look that up, yeah.
That ties this conversation together.
So,
right? Nicely,
yeah.
too.
Well, not only that, it's just that you have to understand when you look at all of the Marlo effects and ideas, it's all one big, gigantic, mother humping tapestry. So, and then you start to see how it's all connected. You say, you know what? I got about 6,550 dots to connect. And you start to see, you know what? He remembers that double trouble connects over the Pharaoh divider, then it goes over to this thing, and then it's next to the Gilbreth, and then it's over to the Elmsley. Oh my God. It's all one piece.
Yeah.
Feels like a matrix like
Yes. Yes.
web.
Then you can go everywhere, and the crowd separates. 'Cause they say, you know, that's Marlo now. I think at the door. My intention's gonna flag,
Yeah.
you know, because they're gonna say,
Yeah.
you know what, you
People
just,
listening to this stuff.
you
they're not
can't
flying.
go along. I think when they did that, Dodd Vickers had that Magic
Fly.
Times or something, and I think he divided mine up because it was, I don't know, I think it was 2 hours.
Right.
One conversation on the phone. I mean, and a lot of it depends on the questions that are asked. It can go off on tangents. You know, there's so much that you can do.
Yeah, I brought 2 questions. I figured we'd do at least 4 hours with you.
Well,
That's a Socratic question.
you know that I.
Well, remember how I was able to contact you. Richard Kaufman says, "Why don't you call John? He likes to talk."
Yeah,
And here we are.
yeah, that there.
So, Double Trouble, of all the ones available to choose for this talk, you chose Double Trouble.
Couple reasons I would say for Double Trouble is you can take something that would be as simple as this is. What it is what? A location trick. 2 locations that would fall in the category that, well, Steve Beam likes to say, it's semi-automatic in a way, at least in terms of what you have to do activity. But there's also some other elements because it uses a principle, the divided deck principle, which has been around. It was around before Marlo. And then you look at historically, what did they do with this double deck condition? What are the applications? How do you apply it? And obviously the first type of thing is to locate 1 card or 2 cards. And all location tricks for the most part require a key card or key cards. And it's either an adjacent key card that keys who the free selection is, or it's a floating key, it's somewhere positioned so that what's interesting about the divided deck is all of the cards of that given group can be keys. Now, how do you position the selections? How do you figure out a procedure that hides it? And Double Trouble, if you actually look at the actions that are conducted in that trick, were strategically picked. For example, it would be very easy if you got the divided deck here, 26 and 26 or 24 and 29, depending on how you do it, but it's odds or evens or reds or blacks or whatever you want to do, would be that somebody takes a card out of one section, another one, and then when they put them back, they go to the opposite ends. Well, that's a kind of a curious procedure that also tips off for the people I like to call are retrograde analysts who are paying attention. Laymen don't pay any attention. So Marlo wants to figure out something that is going to excuse or give you a possibility to mix this. Now, you can mix a divided deck if you do the mixing by false shuffles. You can either do strip outs or whatever it is, or you can do the overhand, the Ireland red-black shuffle, which is a fair shuffle except when you get to the center part. But he thought, wouldn't it be better if you come up with at least a rationale to separate the 2, and you got 2 spectators, let them shuffle. Now they remember they're shuffling. So that allies any suspicion of key cards. You can't let somebody shuffle like that. And that becomes then an asset to the trick.
Right.
Then he says, I'm going to turn around, and he needs to figure out somehow, how am I going to get the 1 card from that section over to the other and vice versa, without actually moving those cards from the position that they are in the deck, in that portion. So he thought of I'll tell the guy to reverse whatever card they want in the middle of their section. Okay, but it's still in that section. Then he says, I want you to mix those two selections together and let's make it topsy-turvy. Turn yours over and shuffle it. Now it's another fair shuffle. And the shuffle itself makes that transition. That not only hides making backtrack and reverse engineering almost impossible, but it strengthens the memorable part of the procedure that spectators, if they're paying attention, watch. Now it's set. Now what else did Marlo do in the write-up? These are these little digressive details. After you do the trick, and if you want to repeat it, and he even says you can do this trick 2 or 3 times, but don't do it more than that. So if you got to repeat it, he explains how to reset the deck without disturbing the divided deck. He adds that, so somebody doesn't say, well, how do you do that? Well, he puts it in there.
It's right in there.
And that's Marlo. He covers it all. And then when they say he doesn't give any credit, even for that writing of the cards to reset it, he said this was triggered by an idea that Steve Hamilton put in when Super Slop Shuffle. Well, that's a credit.
Right.
Guy can look at it where it is, and they say, well, he credits. And he does this constantly. One day I'm going to have the actual numerical number of credits that Marlo has given other magicians throughout his career. And I know it's in the hundreds, maybe in the thousands. And he never gets credit for it. Instead, they say, well, he's ripped off everything. So when you demonstrate this trick, that's all the backstory. But it should encourage people to say, if you like this Marlo trick, if you like it, look at the year that it came out. Look at the other stuff surrounding it in the same year. Look at how he analyzed it. It's like he x-rays the trick and lets you see the inner workings of it and why he made these decisions. Why did he have this little tweak here and this little thing? And you think it's not important? Sometimes you take that one thing out and all of a sudden it weakens. You put it in, there's a difference between a good trick and a great trick, and a great trick and a miracle.
What do you got there, Steve?
D'Artagnan, I'd like to do something different. Something in the mental realm.
That's very fitting.
The mental realm. 52 thoughts. I'd like you to think of any card in the pack. In fact, take the deck, or you can leave them on the table, and as you think, cut the cards. Now, since I am not a mind reader, we need to do something physical with the cards. So I'd like you to take the value of your card that you're thinking of. You've got that firmly in your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to take that value and transfer that number of cards from the top of the deck to the bottom. So let's just say you were thinking of a 6. So you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And you understand. I hope so. I'll turn my back.
Okay.
And do this quietly so I can't hear or get any inkling of the value of your card.
Got it.
All ready?
Boom.
Very well done. In fact, I heard all those, but...
Must be the cards.
Oh, that's right. I should say, this is a deck of Aristocrat, and this is one of Marlo's decks. This is...
That's a real Marlo deck.
Exactly. So this is... I don't know what decade this is from, but it's just as a point of reference, these are scratched cards.
Okay.
And that has nothing to do with this demonstration here, but just as a point of reference, these are all scratched and perhaps I'll demonstrate a trick with those in Marlo Mondays to come.
Right.
But these are nice, and as I said, I don't know what decade they're from, but they faro fairly well for being in a box for decades.
Yeah, it looks like they faro nicely.
Yeah, they're very nice, and this is weird. I'm getting a vibe here.
Okay.
Getting a vibe. Oh, that's nice. Did you hear that?
Very nice sound.
Getting a vibe. Just the top 4 cards. You still thinking of your?
I am.
I want you to. You believe that the mental can affect the physical?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to touch any card, just that random, right there. Now, believe it or not, that's the card you're thinking of.
I don't believe it.
Well, you have that option. What card are you thinking of?
5 of diamonds.
5 of diamonds.
Ooh,
Very close.
very close.
You know, I'm not a mind reader, so I decided to get all the 5s for your entertainment pleasure.
Nice.
And that, my friends, is Mental Topper.